Hello everyone. Are you seeing double? Nope, you're not. I have had this idea in my head for a while and I finally did it. This is one book with two sides. This side says journal and this side says journey. And there are, about 350 pages. I'll put it in the description. I forgot to count before I started the video. This one is 8.75 inches tall and it's 12 inches wide. Each side is a standard size journal like I usually make with a 1.5 inch spine on both sides. And here's the top. And you can see on the front, I know I have to be careful because it's big, I gotta keep it in screen. I've put some labels on the fronts, and then on the spine, hopefully you can see that, there's a label on the bottom of the spine on that side, and a label on the top of the spine on that side. And then the back matches the front, and there's a little bookseller label there, and another bound by label there. All right. So let's get in this. So I put the ties on each front cover. See, so they tie in the middle, and this is seam binding. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? I'm trying to keep it all in the screen. Let's see here. All right, I think we're gonna be good there. Okay, so on this side, I have, let me show you guys one of these file folders. And I've had these folders for a while, and I didn't realize until the other day when I was putting this together, and I've only got a couple of these, so I'm definitely gonna hoard them. I picked them up at a thrift, but look how it's got the metal there and like the old like tape on here. So I used one of these for all three pockets on the front, both front and back covers. So I'll show you those as we go along, but I just thought that was super cool. So hopefully you guys can see this good enough. I know it's giant. So this pocket here, there's a piece of the file folder in the back and a piece of Tim Holtz paper with a little label. Let me pull the goodies out. And there's some butterfly wings peeking out between the two pieces there. All right, here's just a little envelope that I put some stamps on and vintaged it up a bit. So that's in there. And then there's some ice coupons and a little ticket. And then of course my business card is in there. This page has got some vintage trim sewn on. So throughout this, excuse me, throughout this journal, there is a lot of vintage ledger, the real deal. I used some old book pages to make tuck spots and pockets and collaging. This is just a little postcard. There's a tag in here. I got that from Maddie. And then just a little extra page. But I filled it with things that you could use for collaging and decorating and kind of making it your own. And if you know me, you know that I can't not just stuff it full. I've tried. I have to put things in it. I can't help it. Here's a vintage book page. I think I got that. I think Pam sent me that one. Excuse me. Tons of sewing. And so I went sewing crazy. Lots of embossed tea-stained paper. This is some of the painter's paper in the craft. I'll try and remember to tell you where I got all of the images. This one's from the old design shop. And some of the old design shop stuff that I have, some's from her blog, which that stuff is free. And that is just olddesignshop.com. And some is from her Etsy shop, which is the old design shop. So this is piano roll paper. There's a little pocket there and then a tuck here. And then this was some scrapbook paper, and I've sewn a piece of Tim Holtz paper on it to extend it out. Here's a little book page pocket. So there's a tuck in the back with a Imagine definition, and those are from the old design shop's Etsy shop, I believe. And there's some washi under there. This paper's brittle, so I had to sew and washi it. And this is a little picture frame that you punch out the middle, and then there's a ticket in the middle with a little vellum butterfly. There's some of the embossed paper that I did. It's sewn on there. And there's some more of the painter's masking paper. And I can't remember where that image is from off the top of my head. And there's some more bits sewn on. And the other side of the old book page. And this ledger is from 1939. We're stuck. There we go. There's a little bit of fabric there. And here's a music paper tuck spot with a little number code and a definition of artist and some stamping. These images are from the old design shop's Etsy shop. There's some stamping on some old book paper, some more sewing. This is from a vintage book from 1906. This is some of the green painter's paper that I've printed out a design on. This is a piece of ledger from 1927, and that does have washi. It was brittle. Another music pocket with the definition for music, and a vintage envelope postmarked, well, 1971. Kind of vintage. Here's a Western Union Telegraph Company night letter with a little journaling card clipped on. This is a vintage check from 1927 and a piece of Tim Holtz ephemera in the pocket. A little rent receipt in the pocket of that ledger. More vintage paper. There's a pretty chiffon flower there. Some more stamping, digital stamping. This, I can't remember. I think this is one of Nick's pages. Either Nick or the old design shop. I'm gonna have to start putting sticky notes through my whole books. This is 1934, check. And this little postcard I embossed. Here is a little calendar page out of a little vintage book that I have, 1898. Here's some more of the painter's masking paper, some ledger paper with some old tape, and a library catalog card, and a little piece of ephemera. Here's a vintage poetry book with some stamping. There's the other side. This is the rest of one of the pieces of ledger, so I just made a triangle pocket. There's a vintage circus ticket and a piece of Tim Holtz ephemera in that one. I sure hope I pushed play on the video. Hang on, I better check because this is going to be a long video. Oh yeah, we're good. We're rolling. Yay! Here's another pocket. It's got the definition for scrapbook. And there is a little peppermint cordial label and a ticket. And there is some lace with a piece of a vintage ledger tucked in. Some more of the poetry book with some stamping on both sides. And the other side of the painter's masking paper. And this is the other side of the that calendar page. Tea stain paper. This is some beautiful new parchment that I got. And in this pocket is a definition for poetry. And there is a coin envelope and a vintage flash card. So that's a double tuck. There we go. And a little number code there. And some music paper. This is part of an old sewing pattern. This is a vintage school book with all different fonts in it. I love it. Now, this is a piece of vintage ledger, and you'll see on both sides, I just folded this in because I didn't want to lose those. So I thought that was fun, and there's stamping on both sides of this book page. And then this is a little file folder envelope, And there's just a doily and some collage paper in there for you to play with. Oh, and before I forget, because I always forget, I wanted to say thank you for everybody for your support. I finally hit my 1,000 subscribers, so that's exciting. Here's some more embossed paper sewn on here. There's the other side of that ledger page and book page. And the other side of the sewing, paper, music. There's a little glassine bag here that has a little embossed tag made out of mulberry paper. And then just a little stamped piece of tea stain paper in there. Some vintage ledger printed out. It's got a little tag and the definition for right. The other side of that, some more ledger. There's some mulberry paper, some digital stamping, some tea stained paper. There's the other side of that ledger with a little flower and a tea stained, you know, the old Rolodex where you slide the little guide up and down and put it on that letter and it would pop open to that letter. So I just tea stained those. And some more of the vintage book, some sewing, and the back page. All right, now before we get into this side, I'm gonna flip this open and show you guys the middle. So let me take everything out. Excuse me. Get a piece of white paper so you guys can see. I want you to be able to see this good. So see, there's that little metal bit. So I've hung a Tim Holtz charm there. And Tim Holtz has some new, hoping you guys can see this without me holding it up, metal embellishments. So that's one of those. There's embossed paper in the back and then the definition for write and journal. So that's what's in there. And then my little stamp with some cheesecloth that says handcrafted by Johnny, 2019 Junk Journal Shop, certified one of a kind, with a tiny little safety pin there. And what was so fun about doing this is we as junk journalers never get to use an entire sheet of like cardstock or the Tim Holtz paper, almost an entire sheet, but I didn't have to cut it only about a ½ inch this way to make it fit. So I just thought that was fun that you could see the whole spread. And then I used the matching sheet cut down the middle to do the inside of the front cover. So one will be this and one will be this. So I thought that was fun. Here's an envelope that I vintaged up. There's the back, and then on the inside, I just put a little piece of book paper in there because it fit so cute. Now if I can get it back. So you can see introduction in the window. So I just thought that was fun. So there's that. There is a vintage postcard from 1899 in there. And then a little, it's hard to see these, glassine envelope that I've embossed that just has a couple of tags in it. All right. So that is tucked in there. All right, so we're gonna close this side and go over to this side. So, you know, this, I struggled with how I wanted to do this side because, you know, it's kind of backwards. One cool thing I think is if you're left-handed, this would be neat for you because for you, it would be the right way, not the wrong way. So you could work on it this way, just like a traditional book, or you could flip it this way and work from back to front. So, anywho, enough rambling. Let's get in it. So the first signature, I've used the end of a piano roll. And you can see it's got the metal embellishment. It's sewn around the edge, and I did washi tape it just for some extra support because these can be brittle. And it's sewn to it is a piece of vintage ledger. Scoot this just a bit for this piece. So in the front, there's a little tag and ticket in this pocket. There's the flap, and it's got a mulberry paper made tag. Oh, I can't talk today. in that pocket, and then in the big pocket in the back, there's just a piece of mulberry paper and a little ticket. I thought that would be fun for collaging. So, now let me get it back. This thing's so big, I just have to keep moving it around. So there's a book page collaged with the definition of journey with just a little tag in it. Here's a vintage book page on this side. I love how it has that border. Some more sewing, some more tea-stained paper. This is from an old Sears catalog. This video is going to be so long. Sorry, guys. And this will be going up in my Etsy shop today, Saturday the 10th of August. Yeah. More tea-stained paper, book paper, the definition for journey, which matches the front of this side. The book plate says journey. So I'm gonna flip this back in here, and then there's lace down the edge of this side. And then on the back is some doily, some sari, and some little rosettes, and a little ticket. There's a piece of tea-stained paper. Oh, that's parchment, sorry. Parchment paper with digital stamping. Here's a piano roll pocket with the definition of memorable. Some Tim Holtz ephemera. There is a vintage antique book. Some more sewing. Some more of the rosettes. Some vintage book paper. Some lined paper that I've tea stained. Excuse me. There's another book page pocket with some stamping and a little Tim Holtz people peeking out the edge with another one of the mulberry paper tags. Some more sewing, some more embossed tea stain paper sewn on there, and some more here. I'm addicted to it. What can I say? Here is a vintage receipt, and this is the actual receipt from 1946. It's an auditor's report. And there's some lace on this tea stain ledger with some Tim Holtz ephemera. Excuse me, 1 minute. The definition for artist and some Tim Holtz ephemera tucked in there. And there's 2 more parts to this. This is a giant piece of ledger paper. I'll show you when we get back there. Another music pocket, and it's a double with the definition of memorable and a number code. And we'll tuck this other guy in there. Little tag. There we go. There's oh, this is a piece out of a vintage newspaper from 1968. Yeah. Some more mulberry paper, vintage poetry with some stamping, and some more sewing. And then there's another one of these little file folder pockets with a piece of vintage book page inside. There's some more sewing, the other side of the poetry book, and the mulberry paper, and the newspaper. Whew. And then here is the other side of that giant ledger. So in this little pocket that says music is another page from that vintage school book. And then there's some more vintage book page with music on it in there. And then on the back, this is piano roll here. And I've embossed some of it, and it says scrapbook. And there's just a little piece of cardstock. This is the other side of that receipt, and here was all their math on the back. I thought that was fun. This is a scan of a typewriting book. It's called Typewriting Self-Taught that I have. There's some more vintage ledger. There's some music paper tucked in that little pocket. Here's a page of piano roll paper. Another one of the book page pockets with the definition for story. And a little receipt. There's a Western Union telegraph sheet. Some more tea stained. The other side of that piano roll. Music paper. Some more sewing. And then there's just a little picture tucked in here. Some more butterfly wings with the definition of journal. Some more digital stamping. This ledger page is from 1892. Another pocket with a little tag and some tea-stained notebook paper. This is poetry, from a vintage poetry book. Some stamping there for the period 1745 to 1789. Some more of the green painter's paper. This is a page out of an old railroad book that I have. Some more sewing. I love this page. The other side of that masking paper. Here's another pocket with some the vellum or acetate butterfly wings and a vintage postcard. I think I got that from Pam. Thank you, Pam. Some more sewing. Here's the other side of that ledger with a double bank receipt and a little bird die cut. And in the back here is a triple flip with some ephemera and a coin envelope and a tag and some sewing. And we have found the end. And in the back pocket here, again, is a piece of that folder with a piece of ledger from 1925. And there is just a tag, a ticket, and a little ex libris plate for you to stick on if you'd like. And it's beautiful. I love this back page. So pretty. So guys, there it is. If you happen to be the purchaser of this journal, I want to say I apologize in advance. My regular shipping boxes, the white ones, if you've purchased from me before, aren't quite big enough for this, and it's a little heavier than a normal journal, so I think this one's gonna do better in a flat rate box. So just know you won't get my fancy white shipping box if you do purchase this, but it'll still be packaged the same, sealed in a plastic bag, all snug as a bug, so it doesn't get hurt. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I think I will be on tomorrow around 2 p.m. for a little live, and then I'll be working on some small projects over the next week and a half. I'll have company, so you won't see too much of me. But I do have some fun stuff coming up. I'm working on that free class for you guys still. And yeah, I think that's it. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I will see you all live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And thanks for watching. Bye, guys.